What is up, people? Megasonic here with another trailer analyst. Now, I'm going to break down Last of Us Part 2. Now, if you have yet to see my Devil May Cry 5 one, it will be a link to that at the end of this video, so please be able to check that out as well. Remember to like and subscribe and share this video out too. So the trailer starts out with sort of a cabin party, sort of in a community in Last of Us. Now, looking at the trailer kind of interests me because I didn't notice this. I have to watch it like 8 times or something like that. It's like 11 minutes, but I'll explain it thoroughly. I listened to the little lyrics in the beginning of the song. Now, everything points to the character named Ellie. Now, Ellie is the character that you protect in Last of Us. Now, Last of Us, you play as a man named Joel who lost his family, and he's a smuggler, and he has to smuggle this younger Ellie because she has something that can save the future of mankind, but we don't know. I ain't gonna explain it. We know, but I'm not gonna explain it to you. I'm gonna let you play the game first. But anyway, this game takes place several years later, around 4 or 5 years later. Ellie's like pushing her early 20s. I think she's 19 years old. I believe they said she was 19 years old. Now, the lyrics of the song that they're dancing to in the cabin starts off with, I went outside, went a little round, saw a little Sally, I think, shot her down, went back home and got in my bed, 44 pistol under my head. So I think that's a really crazy song to sing and dance to, but it does explain sort of the lifestyle that Ellie has been living. Like, unlike most apocalypse shows where it's like it shows the world before it and then after, Last of Us, like, the apocalypse has been happening for over 20 years now. So there's a large generation of young adults never seen how the world used to be. They never got to experience it. They were either too young to remember, or their families died or whatever. Ellie's one of these kids. Now, Ellie, since it's been 20 years, it's been almost 24 years, close to 25 years since the world was even, like a quarter of a century ago, like their world was our world, and then everything went to shit. That's crazy. So we see this one character who I believe will be a supporting character in the entire game. His name is Jess. Jess is this character who I believe will be the head of the patrol of that community. And one factor that's actually interesting, and he actually does explain this, and it could either go two ways. Either Joel is dead and that she's talking about Tommy, Joel's brother, who was entrusted to watch over Ellie, or it could be Joel's alive and that he's someone who watches over a certain sector or certain department or position in this community, such as, let's say, he's head of like scouting areas out because he's familiar with different trade routes. He knows how people think because he's been at it for like 20 years, so he knows the ins and outs of how people think in apocalypse. So for those who are wondering, is Joel alive? Yeah and no. I want to see him first, but it could be Joel. This is most definitely that telling you that Joel is alive, because he does say your old man laid into me, and it would be something Joel would do to someone, to like laying into them, if it means that Ellie is protected in the process. So that's very interesting because Joel is a very protective man. Then the scene transitions to these two characters, Dina and Ellie, dancing, and they're sharing this little interesting conversation that kind of deeps into how Ellie is. Ellie is someone I feel like she's very standoff. She keeps to herself. She's also very shy, but she has her little circle of friends. Now, this also does justify sort of Ellie's sexuality, which has always been a conversation in the gaming community, whether or not Ellie was a lesbian or bisexual or straight or whatever. And I think this is an obvious indication that she is into girls. Now, but enough about that. Now, one thing I want to talk about is the transition they did. Now, this is one thing I've heard recently from WhatCulture.com. I think you should check their channel out. They do really gaming, movies, etc., etc. They did bring up the fact that they learned that this game is 2 timelines. Now, the 2 timelines is there's a timeline where you're playing, and this has always been a thing that they showed in this game ever since the other 2 trailers, where they showed another group of characters fighting the same group of people, and a lot of people speculate that woman in that last trailer was Ellie's mom. Now, I do agree with that sort of notion that that could be Ellie's mom. It either says that it's either Ellie's mom or not. I would like it to be Ellie's mom because we never learned what happened to her. We didn't know if she died or not, or if she just lost Ellie to the Fireflies or whatever. Anyway, those 2 timelines have always been a thing. So the first timeline has always been like, it's not really like 2 timelines, it's more the lines of like 2 different points in time. I know that's contradictory, but listen up. The first one is, the first timeline or time point is Ellie with the community, and then the second time point is Ellie a year later. So I feel like we're gonna do story from a year later to the current time point, and we're kind to see how they all link up. And I love the way they did this transition of her making out with Dina, and it switches to her stabbing a untrustworthy passenger. So as we switch to the second part of the trailer, we actually see Ellie scoping around, going to different routes. Now this is the second timeline, I believe, that Lot Culture we're talking about, where it's a year later. So we see this guy getting just pretty much his stomach sliced open. Now, a lot of people wonder whether or not is this the thing they do because of pregnancies or whatever. It seems like they do it to everybody. Like, the one thing everyone wonders whether or not it's pregnant or whatever, but it looks like they do it to every single person they come across. It's probably a weird ritual that they do in this forest. One thing I want to talk about in this game is that the gameplay seems very, very similar, except with slight differences. Now, in the first game, you did play as Ellie for one section of the game, which was the winter section, which in my opinion is probably the best section in the entire game. And it wasn't because it was cool. It's because I think it's because most games you don't play as little kids in the apocalypse. Well, Ellie's not a little kid anymore, but it was an interesting aspect of Last of Us game. Now we're seeing a sort of same gameplay, similar to the first one, a little slight differences. Obviously the AIs have improved a lot more. This could just either be for just the E3 presentations, but the last game's AI were pretty good. On PlayStation 3, they were able to hear stuff and see you and catch you. The AI were not bad, but they did have their moments of the hiccups. The AIs here seem to be much more if you're exposed in light, you're automatically caught automatically. But now we see Ellie fights a lot different from Joel. Joel is a brooding big guy who is not as agile, but he's he can one good punch from you can probably break your jaw from him, and that's the truth because that's what you can do in the game. You can break jaws. The one thing, Ellie is different. Ellie doesn't have that mass and that strength compared to Joel, so obviously she'll be a little more agile. So they add the dodging feature, which I don't think was a feature in the game previously, but now it is, where you can bob and weave and dodge. And I do enjoy the person who's playing this who allowing themselves to get cut and make mistakes, because it shows the game has sort of realistic actions. Like Ellie gets cut and she starts running, she holds her left arm. She gets hit in that left arm a lot in the trailer. So I think she needs to get that arm checked out. That arm is worse than how Vegeta's left arm probably is. Shout out to all the Dragon Ball Z fans who probably know what I'm talking about. But anyway, one thing I also talk about is the crafting. The crafting in the game has improved a lot. They actually points out you can make arrows on the fly. Now the crafting, I feel like her crafting speed has been put on 2000, because in the last game you had to boost your crafting speed to get that fast. But anyway, one thing I like is that now since she's more agile, you can slip through certain crevices, you can sneak up on certain people, and the combat feels much more genuine and real, showing that the weight of your actions. This is probably one of the most realistic and gruesome games, and I think that's why a lot of people cringe at the sight of this game, because it's sort of realistic with the way it portrays violence. When you punch someone in the head or you slice them, the head doesn't come clean off like in the action movie. It gets stuck because the bone is there and everything. It gets really twisted. But the combat is so far very similar to the last game, with slight new changes, especially because Ellie plays differently from Joel, and she'll be a much more different character. Now, I believe there's also become a couple of segments where you do go into different other points in time. I do believe you will visit Ellie's mom at one point in this plot. Who knows? We don't know what's going the ending of Last of Us is going to get addressed in this game. I probably think so. But anyway, going to the next part, it twists back to the whole hall dance thing, the whole barnyard party, whatever you want to call it. And the line is, they should be terrified of you, which is actually true because Ellie's a dangerous person. Now, the creator said last game focused on the idea of love from family and everything, which Joel had to relearn how to love again, how to care for someone other than himself. And that's something that Joel struggled with because he lost his daughter in the beginning of the first game. Now, this one's about hate. Now, I don't know what aspect they're going with. Who is this new group? There was one thing, I don't think they're fireflies. A lot of people say, oh, they could be the fireflies. I think they're a religious cult that started up here, in my opinion. They're a religious cult. Just by the way they move, the way they act, the way they dress, they all dress the same, they all move the same. Like, the fireflies were an army, and you had like little scavengers and like raiders who just dress whatever they can find. These people have like sort of a cultish sort of like black cloak uniform. They use arrows, they barely use guns, and it seems like I don't know what their plan is, I don't know what they're doing, but obviously there's going to be some built hatred or prejudice against these type of people, or people from other communities. That could be a thing. But anyway, I'm actually excited for The Last of Us. I can't wait for this game to come out. Personally, I think this game will be out until probably the end of next year, 2019. Some people might speculate, oh, it might be out January 2019. I'm like, no, Kingdom Hearts is out January 2019. This one won't be out probably until like next. We probably might see this game next E3 with a release date. 2019 E3 is where I expect we're gonna see this game at the next E3 next year. So anyway, I'll see you guys later. Megasonic out.